Before we begin, tell us in the comments where you're watching from. If this kind of heartfelt story moves you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss a moment like this. High above the heartbeat of Chicago, in a glass-walled fortress that kissed the sky, Liam Carlisle sat alone in his office on the 47th floor of Carlisle Holdings. The city that sprawled beneath him, a city he'd bent to his will, now seemed distant, insignificant. He had it all: wealth beyond imagination, power that commanded respect, a name etched into the skyline itself. Yet, at 45, Liam was haunted by the one thing he couldn't buy, build, or conquer: an heir. Then came the call. At precisely 5 p.m., his phone buzzed, slicing through the silence like a blade. "Mr. Carlisle," came Dr. Keller's voice, somber and reluctant. "I have your results." "I'm afraid it's conclusive. You're sterile." The word struck him like a physical blow. Sterile. A single word, but it shattered every dream he'd ever harbored of legacy, bloodline, and meaning beyond the billions. In disbelief, Liam pleaded for a retest, offered blank checks, demanded alternatives. But some truths, as Dr. Keller quietly reminded him, lie beyond even the reach of money. Staggering under the weight of that reality, Liam left the office. Rain slicked the streets of downtown, but he barely noticed. His thoughts were a whirlpool of frustration, grief, and fury. His car spun out on a sharp, wet turn. Headlights flashed, horns screamed, and then darkness. The first thing he saw when he came to was a pair of determined eyes and a woman's calm, steady voice calling his name. Sophia Morales. A high school teacher from Chicago's South Side, she had stopped when others passed by, sprinted into the wreckage as the flames grew, and pulled Liam from the crumpled vehicle just moments before it caught fire. In the hospital, Liam couldn't stop thinking about her. The image of her face, fearless, composed, was seared into his memory. She'd saved him, a complete stranger, at great risk to herself. He needed to know who she was. With the help of his assistant Hannah, he found her. Sophia Morales was no ordinary woman. She was a devoted educator, a mentor to at-risk youth, a tireless volunteer at community shelters. She lived a life rooted in service, not self-interest, a concept foreign in Liam's rarefied world. Weeks passed. Liam recovered physically, but his thoughts lingered on Sophia. She became more than a rescuer. She was a symbol of something real, something rare. He finally reached out and invited her to dinner, not at a ritzy rooftop bistro or five-star hotel, but at a small, welcoming bistro in her neighborhood. Sophia chose the place, and Liam, for the first time in years, stepped out of his bubble and into her world. He wore a tailored suit, she wore a simple navy dress. He brought money and manners. She brought warmth and honesty. "Thanks for meeting me," he said, voice a touch nervous. "I wasn't sure you'd say yes." "I wasn't sure you'd actually call," she replied with a light smile. "People like you don't usually look twice at people like me, let alone remember them." Liam leaned in, serious. "I owe you my life, Sophia. How could I forget the woman who saved it?" Their conversation flowed like they'd known each other for years. She spoke of her students, many from broken homes, of victories that came not with trophies but with a child learning to read or choosing to stay in school. Liam listened, captivated. Her world was tough, raw, and real, yet she met it each day with courage and compassion. Then, just as dessert arrived, she paused. "There's something I need to tell you," she said, folding her hands. "I'm pregnant, with twins." The words hung in the air, suspended in silence. Liam blinked, his face briefly registering shock, but not judgment. Instead, he leaned closer, eyes gentle. "Twins? That's a lot." Are you okay? Sophia gave a soft laugh, one tinged with nerves. I only found out a few weeks ago. I've been processing it alone, figuring it out day by day. Liam was quiet for a moment, then said, You don't have to do this alone. Not anymore. She looked down, fiddling with her napkin. I don't want to be your charity case, Liam. I don't want to be a project. The word stung, but he understood. In her world, self-reliance wasn't a choice. It was survival. You're not a project, Sophia, he said softly. You're probably the most real person I've met in a very long time. What began as a dinner turned into a series of quiet, meaningful moments. Liam visited her often, never grand gestures, just thoughtful support. He brought prenatal vitamins, cozy blankets, parenting books. He listened. He learned. He showed up, not as a billionaire, but as a man trying to find purpose. And slowly, something shifted. Sophia, who had lived life bracing for disappointment, began to trust him. Liam, who had lived behind walls of wealth, began to feel. Not long after, during a late-night walk through her neighborhood, Sophia paused and looked at him. Why are you really here, Liam? He met her gaze. Because the moment I met you, my life started to make sense. And for the first time in years, I feel like I'm exactly where I'm meant to be. Liam Carlo once believed his legacy would come through bloodlines and boardrooms. But life, in its strange and beautiful way, had other plans. Sometimes, legacy is not about what you leave behind in your name, but in the lives you choose to love, lift, and protect. And for Liam and Sophia, their story was just beginning. Though Sophia often wore her strength like armor, Liam could see the gratitude flicker in her eyes with every gesture he made. They continued to meet in quiet corners of the city, hidden cafes, leafy parks, familiar places where Sophia felt at ease. In these gentle spaces, her walls began to lower, little by little. She spoke of her fears, the sleepless nights imagining what single motherhood would look like, the quiet terror of not being enough for two lives depending solely on her. She confessed her doubts, her guilt, and even her dreams, the kind she had once tucked away, convinced the world didn't have space for them. And Liam? For the first time in his life, he dropped the mask he had worn for decades. No grand gestures, no rehearsed charisma. He shared his own heartbreak, the crushing realization that he could never father children, and the heavy silence that followed him since he learned the truth. With Sophia, he didn't have to be the towering CEO of Carlyle Holdings. He could simply be Liam, a man with regrets, with hope, with something slowly coming back to life inside of him. One evening, as autumn leaves drifted across the pavement, they strolled through a park painted gold by sunset. They sat on a worn bench, their breath visible in the crisp air. Sophia turned to him, her face lit softly by the twilight, her eyes uncertain yet vulnerable. "Liam," she said quietly, "I have to ask, why are you doing all this? You hardly know me. You don't owe me anything." He turned to her, his expression open, tender in a way she hadn't seen before. "Maybe I don't know everything about you," he said, "but I know enough. Enough to see how remarkable you are, enough to know that I want to be here, not because I have to, but because I choose to." For a moment her breath caught. She searched his face looking for doubt, and found none. Only sincerity. And for the first time she let herself lean against him, her head resting gently on his shoulder. Together they watched the city flicker into night, wrapped in a silence that spoke louder than words. But peace, however sweet, is rarely left untouched. Word of Liam's deepening connection with Sophia didn't stay quiet for long. Whispers reached his family, and before long, his sister Miranda stormed into his office with cold fury veiled in polished words. You don't know her, she snapped. You think she's special because she saved your life, but don't forget who you are and what the Carlisle name means. When Liam defended Sophia, Miranda's mask slipped. She went behind his back, seeking Sophia out herself. Cold, dismissive, and worse. She tried to pay her off to disappear quietly. When Sophia told Liam what had happened, her voice was steady, but her eyes were wounded. I appreciate everything you've done, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. But maybe your sister is right. We come from different worlds, Liam. Maybe we were never meant to mix. Liam's chest ached. Not from pride, not from rejection, but from the realization that the woman he was beginning to love was being pushed away by the very world he came from. You're not walking away because of Miranda, he told her. She doesn't get to define us. Give me a chance, Sophia, please. Give us a chance. She hesitated, then nodded. I need space to think, that's all I ask. It was a gray, quiet morning when Liam's phone buzzed mid-board meeting. He almost ignored it until he saw the name. Sophia, but it wasn't her voice. Mr. Carlisle, this is Chicago Presbyterian. Miss Morales has gone into premature labor. Everything stopped. Apologizing quickly, Liam rushed out, racing through traffic toward the hospital. 8 weeks too early. Fear gripped him. He found her in the maternity wing, pain and panic on her face. Liam, she breathed. I'm here, he said, gripping her hand. You're not alone. Hours passed in a blur. Contractions, doctors, whispers. An emergency C-section was called. He was asked to wait outside. Time dragged. Then a nurse finally appeared, smiling. You have 2 daughters. In the NICU, surrounded by beeping monitors, Liam met Lucy and Eli, tiny, fragile. Perfect. He pressed a hand to the glass. Hi, Lucy. Daddy's here. He stepped away from his company without hesitation. Every moment now belonged to them. Sophia, still recovering, leaned on him, their quiet love growing. He didn't do it for the press. He did it for them, Lucy and Isa, the daughters he never expected but couldn't live without. And for Sophia. One night, holding her hand, Liam said, They're already mine in every way that matters. I want to adopt them. Tears filled Sophia's eyes. In that moment she knew. He was family by choice, not chance. As the twins' first birthday neared, they celebrated their journey, from NICU struggles to baby giggles, in a cozy, sunlit center filled with love. Liam watched Sophia cradle the girls, a peace washing over him that no deal ever brought. This was home. Later, under garden lights, Liam knelt with a velvet box. Legacy isn't power, he said. It's love. It's the life we build together. Sophia Morales. Will you marry me? Through tears, she whispered yes. A year later, in their Chicago home, Liam held the girls as morning light spilled in. I used to measure life in deals, he told Sophia. Now I measure it in their smiles. And your laugh. Their life wasn't perfect. It was real, messy, beautiful, and it was theirs. We hope Liam and Sophia's story touched your heart. What would you do if your life changed in a single moment? Would you let go of control for the chance at unexpected love? Would you open your heart to a future you never planned for? Let us know in the comments. Love.